the agenda for today, this is Canvas Intermediate. It's about 40 minutes, give or take. We'll start off easy. I'm going to show you how to create or how to choose an image for the course card. That's the graphic that appears in the dashboard for your course. Then from there, we'll kind of ramp things up pretty quickly. We'll do, I'll go over moderating quizzes. Then I'll show you how to set a different due date or assign a different due date to individuals, as well as changing the amount of time individuals have to take the quiz, which is different from moderating the quiz. And then the last thing is we'll be going into Turnitin and how that tool works. Turnitin is the originality checker, the tool that we have integrated into Canvas, and that's what checks whether a submitted work is in fact an original work. This is being recorded, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I've left a significant amount of time available for questions at the end, and at that point, I will stop the recording and I will go into detail and address your questions or any questions you may have. So thank you so much for joining us. I will now start sharing my screen. You should now be able to see my screen. Here we go. This is the Canvas dashboard. Again, this is Canvas Intermediate, so there is a presumption that you are somewhat familiar with Canvas. You don't have to be an expert or anything, but you should have some sort of exposure to it. So here is the course we will be using today. It's this Test 102 Canvas demo. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click into it. And when I click into it, I already have some items that I've preloaded into it. We're going to be working with these assignments first, but as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to be creating the course card. I don't want this to appear anymore. Okay, so here when I click on settings of the course, I'm going to change the graphic that appears in the dashboard. So I'm going to return to the dashboard and just point out here that this Test 102 course has no image here, unlike these two, which have a nicer image. So it's really helpful for yourself and for students because if you have several courses, you could just identify it via the graphic a lot faster than by reading the name or identifying the color. So I click on the course, Test 102, I scroll down to settings, and when I click on settings, the first option is this image. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on choose image. If I had an image ready to go, I could just upload it, and that could be anything in a JPEG, GIF, or PNG format. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this Unsplash tab here. Unsplash is an image repository. Photographers upload their original photography and basically share it. They just ask for credit at the end. So here I'm going to just type in bookshelf. And here we have several bookshelves. I kind of like this, I don't know, industrial wall. So now I've selected the image. It has been set as the course image. And when I click on dashboard, I'm going to return to dashboard now. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. And there it is. Our Test 102 Canvas demo has that. And it's got a gray tint over it. Canvas automatically and randomly assigns a color to each course card. You cannot get rid of that tint, but you can change it. So if I want to make it this burnt orange, I can, and I just click on the three dots. And there it is. And then if I want to move this to be the very first card, again from the three dots, move down, move to bottom, move top, etc., etc. And there it is. So that's how we set our graphic. That's a question that a lot of people ask us. So that's why we open up Intermediate with this. So now, moving on, I'm going to go into moderating a quiz. So I'm going to scroll down here to sample quiz 1. Again, these are assignments that I have previously created and have already been published. The reason having a quiz created and a quiz published is important is because the moderate this quiz function, which is here to the far right, is only available for those courses which have been published, or for those quizzes that have been published. So I misspoke there. So let me make sure that the quiz, okay, publish the course. I'm going to go to sample quiz. Now, moderating the quiz gives individual or more than one test taker, as you pick them or as you select them, more time per attempt than the standard assign to window. So the assign to windows, for example, here the due date is April 29th for everyone, and everyone is getting 15 minutes on this quiz attempt. Now, let's say I had a student that required additional time, that there was some sort of, the student has a special accommodation, and they need more time per quiz attempt. Rather than having to give a different due date or create a different quiz, you could have that student take the same quiz as everyone else, and then you would just give that individual student more time per quiz attempt, hence moderating this quiz. So let me show you. I'm going to switch over to my other student account. I have a student account that I've created that is in this course, Test 102. So this is, for all intents and purposes, a real student account. It's just my student account. So I've clicked on sample quiz 1. And then I want to draw your attention here to the quiz details. And here, everyone is getting 15 minutes on the quiz attempt. Instructions: please answer the following questions. You have 15 minutes. Now, let's say this student requires time and a half per quiz attempt. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to switch back here. As I mentioned earlier, I could give individual students more time by using the moderate this quiz function. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to click moderate this quiz, and I'm going to select Herbert Test 03. Everyone here has one attempt left, and there's nothing here for time because they haven't taken the quiz. But I'm going to click on Herbert Test 03, the pencil to the far right. And when I click on that pencil, I get this, the student extensions. I could give individual quiz attempts, or I could just give individual time. So this student requires time and a half. They have a special accommodation that needs that they have time and a half per quiz attempt. And Canvas can only do it in full increments of a minute. So half of 15 is 7.5 minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and round that up to 8. And I'm going to click Save. As soon as I click Save, it says that Herbert Test 03 gets 8 extra minutes on each attempt. So I'm now going to switch back to my other account, my student test account, and I'm going to reload this quiz. Please pay special attention here to the time limit. I'm going to hit reload. And now it says the time limit is 23 minutes. However, the instructions still say 15 minutes because the instructions are set at the quiz, and they're not, that is not changed. It's just the time available per specific quiz attempt. So now I'm going to click Take the Quiz. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. And here the timer that is going is counting down from 23 minutes rather than from 15 minutes. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this quiz. This is an essay. These are simple questions. And I'm now going to click Submit Quiz. And the student has now taken the quiz. When I'm going to switch back. We get to see that the student finished the quiz in less than a minute and got 2 points because those questions were graded automatically. The first 2 questions, the third question was an essay question, and I'll need to grade that. But here we see that Herbert Test 03 has 0 attempts left, finished in a minute, and gets, or in this case, got 8 extra minutes on each attempt. So I'm going to go back to the sample quiz. And I was able to moderate this quiz because I had already created it and it was already published. So I'm going to create a new quiz, and I'm just going to call this moderated quiz sample. I'm not going to build it with any questions, but I do want to just say 10 minutes here in the quiz instructions. Again, this is fixed for everyone. Please take the quiz. You have 10 minutes. All right, and it's a graded quiz. It's going to go into the assignments. I'm going to leave all of this default. The time limit, I'm going to give them 20 minutes on this attempt, or 10, sorry, I wrote 10 up there. And here I'm going to make it do, I'm just going to set it all to today. Assign today. And now I'm going to click save. I'm not going to have any questions in here, but I'm going to click save because I want to draw your attention to something. I've now saved it. There are no options here. That moderate quiz function is not anywhere to be seen. So I'm going to click on edit. Actually, I could have just hit published. I'm going to click save and publish. And now, since the quiz is published, I have these related items that appear. I can moderate this quiz. I've got a speed grader. Again, to moderate the quiz, that is to give an individual test taker additional time per attempt, the quiz must be published. So I'm going to click moderate this quiz, and this person's going to get an extra 5 minutes. And there is that. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, if I'm creating the quiz and then I publish it, I don't have much time to make sure I moderate everyone. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change all of these dates to tomorrow. So the students have to take this quiz tomorrow. I've already got it moderated so that they get the additional, that one student gets the additional time. Let me switch over to the test student account. I'm going to come to quizzes here. And here is moderated quiz sample. And when I click on it, it says moderated quiz sample. This quiz is locked until April 21st, 12 a.m. So this student can't even take the quiz, but it has been moderated to allow this person to get an additional 5 minutes for a total of 15 minutes per this quiz attempt. So that is how you moderate the quiz, and that's how you would give an individual test taker, quiz taker, additional time per attempt. Now, one of the things I just did was to assign it to tomorrow. That brings us to the next part of our little demonstration here, which is to give individuals a different window of opportunity to take the quiz. Now, that's different from moderating this quiz, because moderating this quiz means that everybody's getting the same quiz in the same time. It's just that one individual is getting more time per attempt than maybe someone else. And again, that's because they have a special need that requires that accommodation. So now let's say I'm going to come back here to moderate this quiz sample. And I'm going to change these dates. Actually, I'm going to leave them set as they are to April 21st. So the quiz is due tomorrow. All my students have to take this quiz tomorrow. But let's say student Herbert Test 3 has said, well, professor, I have to take care of my kid. I don't have childcare because the school's closed. And I have my husband, or I have my spouse, or I have someone that could help me with my kid today. Is there any way I could take the quiz today? This is a question we get a lot. So yes, there is a way to do that, to allow a specific student a different assigned date, give them a different due date for the quiz. So in this case, Herbert has said, I need help. I got someone that could help me watch my kid today. Can I take the quiz today? Right, and let's say they told me this last week. So I've got this quiz that's due tomorrow, but the student can't take it tomorrow. The student has already told me they could only take it today. Well, me being the reasonable faculty member that I am, I'm going to give them the opportunity to take it today. The way I do that is I change here. I'm in the edit quiz, in the quiz details, and I'm going to click on the add button that is here. So when I click add, I'm basically giving it another window, and I'm going to assign this to Herbert Test 03. That's right here. But when I click on that, I want you to pay attention up here where it says assign to everyone. Everyone is getting it April 21st. But I'm going to click on Herbert Test 3, and it is switched from everyone to everyone else because Herbert Test is going to get a different day that they can take the quiz today. So I'm going to click Save. I'm going to switch over to this moderated quiz sample. Again, we just saw this, and it says this quiz is locked until April 21st, 12 a.m. I'm going to hit Reload. And when I reload the page, I can now take this quiz. So I'm going to click Take the Quiz. There's no questions there. We didn't build it with any questions. But I just want to point out that this quiz was also moderated so that this student gets an additional 5 minutes. And they have the countdown going from 15 minutes. So when I click Submit, the student has now taken the quiz. They're able to go on and do whatever else they need to do today. And then tomorrow, they could focus on their child. So that is great. It's a win-win. It wasn't too difficult for me as a teacher to change that. And now I've taught you guys how to do that as well. So that's the difference between moderating the quiz and then assigning the different windows. Pardon me. And then I just refreshed this page, and here we see there's 2 due dates now. The due date of April 20th, which we just set for Herbert, and then the due date for everyone else. Now, unlike moderate this quiz, we could also do this for assignments. So I've got my sample assignments here. Here, everybody, it's due April 29th. But if I wanted to give Herbert an extra week, because for whatever reason, the student already knows that they will have something that will preclude them from being able to submit it on the 29th, and they say, I'll need an extra couple days. I'll match everything else up. And now the time in which they could do this assignment has increased from April 29th to this student now gets an additional couple days into May for this assignment. And then we come here to confirm that, yes, indeed, they have until May 2nd. So the due dates, that window of opportunity can be changed for quizzes and assignments. The individual time per quiz attempt can only be done for quizzes, and the quizzes must be published. So now, moving on, we're going to get into the real thick and hairy part of this workshop, which is Turnitin. Before I get into it, let me come here. Turnitin, as I mentioned at the beginning, is the originality checker that the campus uses. It is a tool that we have integrated into Canvas, but it's just a tool. It uses a proprietary algorithm to check what students are submitting. If you have the tool enabled, this is how it works. It checks the originality of a student submission and compares it against a data set that Turnitin has built based on other student submissions. So it's a massive database, and using their algorithm, they check to make sure that it is indeed an original work. It'll then spit out a report called a similarity score, and then it's up to you as the teacher as to how you'll interpret that similarity score, and more importantly, what actions you will take resultant of that score. If you call our office and I pick up, or one of my colleagues or one of the student assistants picks up and says, well, I got this score and it's pretty high. I don't know what to do. What should I do? What we will do is we will refer you to the campus policies and procedures on academic honesty, because we handle the purely technical aspects of the tools. And since there are tools, it's up to you to make the determination as the teacher in your course as to how you'll interpret the results of that tool. So with all that being done and said, let's go ahead and create a sample Turnitin assignment. So I'm here in the assignment group, and I'm going to call this sample Turnitin final exam. You don't have to put the name Turnitin, but I'm giving it the name Turnitin so that I could easily identify it. And then here I'm just going to put a random description. This is going to be worth 50 points because it's part of the final. And I'm going to display grades as points, and I'm going to use it in assignments. Now for the submission type, if you're going to be using Turnitin, the submission type must be online. And then you have to enable file uploads, because the way it's working is the integration gets the submission into Canvas, and then Turnitin will compare whatever is submitted by the student and processed on the Turnitin side. So you have to do file uploads, and for this assignment, I'm going to leave it to Word doc and PDF. Moving on, the plagiarism review will be Turnitin. So that's the only option that's available under plagiarism review. And it takes a few seconds for it to load up. And then these are the options that I was briefly alluding to. Store submissions in. You have the option as the teacher to add them to the standard paper repository or to not store the submitted papers. This option will not put them into the Turnitin database for future use. And then here, for compare submissions against, this is the student repository. That's the default repository that's being used up here. It'll also compare it to other websites, and it'll also compare it against periodicals, journals, and publications. So books, magazines, newspapers, etc., etc. And then here for the similarity report, I'm going to just leave these options enabled like this by default. But if we wanted to exclude bibliographic materials, quotes, or small sources, I'm just going to leave these options enabled and none of these below. So here, this option here is whether you want to show the students what the output of that similarity score is or not. You could do it immediately, after the assignment is graded, after the due date, or never. That's up to you as the teacher, whether you'll share those results with them or not. So this is not going to be a group assignment. And this is going to be going to everyone. And let me just set the due date to the May 4th. And I'm going to click Save and Publish. That'll create the assignment. And then we'll use our student account. Okay, so there is our final exam sample. And let me switch over to my student account. So now I'm in the student account. And I'm going to come here to Sample Turnitin Final Exam. All right. Oh, this assignment is locked until May 4th because I was silly and didn't. I have the available date. It's set to May 4th as well. Let me set this to the 20th. Actual, yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to switch back here. Now I could do the submission as soon as this thing loads. There we go. So here's got all my instructions, my very poor prompt, and then I'm going to click Submit Assignment. This Submit Assignment is very similar to what students normally see. So I'm going to choose my file, and I'm going to do this one, this CSUN Wiki sample, which is a Wikipedia article. And then here, comments are optional. This is all standard. The only difference is here. I agreed to the tools and user license agreement. The assignment submission is my own original work. I could not submit the assignment until I agree to the terms. And also state that this submission is my own original work. So I click on that, and now I click Submit Assignment. So what will happen in the background is this file will get submitted to Canvas. I'm going to switch over back to my teacher browser. I'm going to reload this page. And now we see that there is one submission, and it's the submission that I did. Pardon me. So now I'm going to click on grades. The report that Turnitin will generate does take some time, anywhere from several seconds to a couple minutes, depending on the length of the paper, how many people are actively using either Canvas or Turnitin at that exact moment. So here is our submission. So our sample Turnitin final. There's the submission. That's the icon. There's a graded submission. And this flag here, that's the similarity score. So at a glance, it's red. That's really high. But like I said in the when I was submitting the assignment, this is literally a Wikipedia article that I copied and pasted into a Word document. So even here it says from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, and it's got a score of 100. The similarity score is through the roof, as is to be expected because it is a Wikipedia article. And I'm going to click on that. As you could imagine, it's pretty hard to create an original work each and every workshop. So I just use this article over and over and turn it in. The stuff must be going bonkers because it keeps getting this thing submitted. So now I've clicked over from the similarity score in the speed grader, and I'm now in this is the Turnitin interface. This is what you see as the teacher. So here, everything is highlighted this pink color. That means that it has been found in a different submission, or it's been found on a website, or it's been found somewhere. So that's what this is telling us. So now when I click here on this 100 match overview, here's the thing. And here we have 100%. This was submitted to CSU Northridge. I know because I submitted this. And then we could get down at a much granular level. 100% of this was submitted to CSU Northridge. 96% of this came from Wikipedia. 51% came from Get Degree 18. I don't know what that is. And I don't know what all these other things are. But going through it, you get to see who else or where else some of these items have been used, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's funny because there's one, yeah. So CSUN uses part of this, and then northridgecalifornia.net. So it gets pretty interesting to see the results, and then these are the scores. Now, if I go to text-only report, I click on here, and it will give me a little bit more information, but it's basically the same thing, where it came from and who has used it. So here, we kind of get a broken down view. Similarity index is 100%. The similarity score is 96% from internet sources, 0% from publications, and 100% from student papers. So that is it. As I mentioned earlier, sorry, that was my daughter. As I mentioned earlier, this is merely a tool now that we've got this score, it would be up to you as the teacher to make the determination as to what actions, if any, will be necessary. So here I'm going to just give this student 0 points. And here I'm going to say, we really need to talk. Please email me or call me ASAP. Right? Because I'm not making any judgments yet. It might, maybe the student submitted the wrong article. Maybe something happened. Who knows? So that's what I'll do. And then I'm going to come back here, reload this page. Now, as a student, when I click on grades, I see that sample Turnitin final exam has been graded. And then that's the 0 points that I gave them. There's the comment. We really need to talk. Please email me or call me ASAP. And then here's that ticket for the little flag for the Turnitin similarity score. When I click on that, it'll take me over to the similarity score as well for the student. It's just a slightly different view with slightly less options. And then they get to see the same thing. If we didn't have the release report to student enabled, the student would not be able to see it. So again, as I mentioned numerous times now, this is merely a tool, and that similarity score, it is up to you as the teacher to make the determination as to how you'll handle it. So Turnitin, I'm just going to go to the Turnitin, what do the colors mean? So here there's this page interpreting the similarity report, the similarity score. Here's like a sample of it, and then here's what the scale, what the colors mean. Blue is no matching text, green is one word to 24% of the overall total, and then yellow is 25 to 49, orange is 50 to 74, and red is 75. So yeah, this is how it works. Again, this is in aggregate. I always like to tell people that since this is a tool and it's an algorithm, it's a bit of a black box, for lack of a better word. It anonymizes the submissions. So, students just see and teachers just see that it was submitted, but it doesn't say where or who. It says in the class, but it doesn't know, right? It doesn't know that, hey, I submitted this. And there's an example I like to give where there was a teacher last semester who, this faculty member had created a brand new prompt, and then they called because the similarity score was really high. It was in the mid to upper 80s, I don't remember. And she thought there was something broken with Turnitin because there's no way that the student could have previously submitted this paper because it's a brand new prompt. They couldn't have copied it from anyone. Well, it turns out that the prompt was similar enough to something that had been asked in a different course altogether. And what the student had done is basically repurposed their own previous submission and basically self-plagiarized themselves. And yeah, that was a really interesting conversation. It wasn't until the very end when we kind of went through detail by detail that became evident. And I don't know what the outcome there was, but I just helped that faculty member with the technical aspect of it, and I made no judgments or nothing because that's, again, not what we do. So that's how Turnitin works. I realized that we did not get into the group function, how to create group assignments, which is part of this agenda. So I could go into that now if you like. Otherwise, I'll just open it up to questions. If you want to let me know in the chat, if you want me to do the group over how to create a group assignment, I can. Or if you guys want to just, yes, group assignment review would be helpful. All right, cool. Sorry about that. I don't know why I skipped that. So now let me close all of these other windows. Group assignments are much easier and much nicer than the Turnitin stuff, because that could get kind of weird. So now I'm going to click on assignments, and I'm going to create a new group assignment here. I'm going to call this sample group assignment. Please work in groups for this project. I will create the groups on your behalf. All right, so here it's going to be worth also 50 points. I'm going to leave all of these things on default. And the big difference is I'm going to make this a group assignment. So I'm going to click on that. And here for the group set name, I'm going to give it a very specific name. Canvas 102 Spring 2020 group work. The reason I give it that specific name will become evident when I switch over to the student view. I do not want to allow self-sign up. The reason for this is if I got to wait for the students, some of them will sign up, some of them won't. And it's like, I'd rather just let Canvas do it automatically, because that's what it can do. So here for the group structure, I'm going to split the groups into two. I'm going to split the students into two groups, and I'll let Canvas do all of this, and I'll let it automatically assign a group leader. So I click save. The group leader is the person that'll kind of be the point person, so to speak. And then here for the assign, I'm going to set this to be due on Monday the 4th, and it'll be available starting today. And I'll give them until the 6th to do their big group project. Oh, yeah, I missed this option here. Once this has been flagged as a group assignment, there's this option to assign grades to each student individually. I do not want to enable that option. I want everyone to get the same grade on what gets submitted. I'll share a tip that another faculty member did that's really, really good. They actually do the group grade in two separate parts. So everybody will get the same grade on the submitted work, but then they all have to present an individual component of it. And then she has the students submit their notes and different ephemera that led to the creation of the group assignment. And that's how she gauges the individual performance. So this faculty member would give the group grade, and then there was like another, I think up to 15 points or 20 points on the individual performance. And that she felt was a fair balance, because if somebody was in a really bad group, whatever that means, this would be an opportunity for them to make up some of the points because no one else on their group worked on anything. So yeah, that was a really cool tip. So I'm going to go ahead and click save and publish. So now I've got my sample group assignment. I'm going to come now to people, because that's where the groups exist. And Canvas 102, here's the group we just created. And when I click on that, we see all the students in the course, and we see who's in what group. Now, even though Canvas created the groups, I could still move people around by clicking on these vertical dots here, these columns of dots. I could go ahead and change that around. So if there's someone that's really insistent and they want to be on a group with whatever, blah, 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 you could do all of that. Or if you want to go in and change some of these settings, you could also do that. So here, Herbert Test 03 is the group leader, which is good because that's the account that I'll be doing the submission from. So now I'm going to go over to grades. And I'm going to go all the way over here to sample group assignment. There's nothing that's been submitted yet, so I'm going to just click over to my student view here. I'm going to go to sample group, and I'm just going to go ahead and submit. And then here, again, it's very similar. The big difference is this orange border here. Keep in mind this submission will count for everyone in your group. So I'm going to choose file. I'm just going to go ahead and submit that wiki sample again. submitting on behalf of our group. Again, this is optional, but some students will go in and they'll provide a really long, detailed description. And then I'm going to click Submit Assignment. And now it is submitted. Let me switch over to my teacher window. I'm going to reload the gradebook. And here we see the submission. It was done by Herbert Test 03, but it counted to everyone else in the group, including Herbert Test 01. So now I'm going to go into the speed grader. I'm going to grade it. I'm just going to give this 48 points, random thing. There's the assignment comments when the student submitted. And I'm going to use some of these markup tools. Great title. I just want to show you this. Great title. Excellent work. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the gradebook. And here's sample group assignment. Both of these students get the 48 points. And I'm going to switch back to my student view, or to my student account, I should say. And then here we see sample group assignment, 48 out of 50. I could see the comments and the feedback. Excellent work. I click on the sample group assignment. And then here I see the comments. I can see the feedback. Oh, there we go. It's just taking a while to load. And I could see what the comments and notes were. So if I were to log into the Herbert Test 01 account, I would see the same exact thing. Because since it's group, it goes out to everyone in that group. So that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to stop this now.